Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. This is Shirley with a special video, and this one is an energy reading. And so there's nothing in particular that guides this reading other than intuition, and I'll do some essential oil opening and divination. So this is going from the personal to the collective. If you are listening to this, as probably relevant to you in some way. As with all readings, take what's relevant and leave, say fuck it to the rest. So yeah, this energy reading is opening up with the Pluto Soul Square. And the Pluto Soul Square, when Mars is involved in opposing Pluto, some hidden agenda. If you've been experiencing whether nudges, whether intuitions, whether things to try to, control your destiny or your sexual energy or your passion and drive. Some people call it love spells, some people call it whatever. Know that thing has been going on for a couple of years, and you may have noticed that you're receiving omens or people been trying to set you up with people, and there's something about your energy. Okay, there's something about your energy. There may be something in your natal chart that is denoting of rubbing elbows with powerful forces. And those powerful forces can be very hidden from the eye. So, and there are forces within this realm that try to set you up, put you up with certain energies, or you could be this powerful force. Okay, there can be something about your lineage, something about your family that you know only so much about, or something hidden about your lineage, your father, your parents, their connection, and that can have to do with secret societies. And this is a transition of wealth. Okay, we are in times of world war and transition of currency and transition of wealth, and so you may have been on the spotlight of people expecting you to be one of these powerful figures and wanting for you to play into certain rules and certain hands of all kinds of forces, all kinds of beings. Now, one way in which that can be is, of course, romantic relations, or you may have been a person that some people try to use in that sense. There are a lot of karmic relations, a lot of eclipse-related relations, a lot of hidden agendas, hidden secrets, but a lot of shifts in, I call it shifts in mishaps, because people are genuinely shifting their energy. They're genuinely becoming more aware of what their hearts desire, the essence of desire, and connection to, for some people it's the divine, for some people it's their own higher self and higher being. For some people it's what they rethink and rewriting wealth, and how they have been thinking about wealth. So there are just a lot of forces operating within this situation. And for you, it seems to be like you're taking your time. You're taking your time. You're taking your time to observe. You're taking your time to see what happens. There may be revelations or conversations, and you're keeping in mind that both wealth and relations, heart related and passion related, and those have to be aligned with the mind, and those have to be aligned. Okay, the basis for wealth cannot be you know things that do not go with the open, vulnerable, and safe heart. They would never yield the wealth that they're expected to yield, and there would always be a dissatisfaction when it comes to that. So you're reconnecting, you're taking the time to reconnect to your own wealth. And wealth is not the pile of gold that could cover an A-bomb, not the A-bomb that covers a pile of gold. The wealth itself is that connection, is that sense of joy of living. And whenever people bring up, okay, whether they're trying to do love spells or they try to set you up or they try to bring you up with power, they basically put you next to the junctures of growth. And growth is going to happen anyway. The essence is whether you're going to reconnect with yourself, and that becomes authenticity. And so authenticity can be, hey, I like these powerful people. And my notion of wealth has to align with my heart and my well-being. That authenticity can be, hey, I was pushed into a situation. For some, it's like, hey, that is the lifestyle that I was pushed into. It may or may not be something I like, or you rediscover desire of it. Like, I was never a person of luxury, then I'm faced with luxury, and now that's kind of cool. And so there is a lot of visibility in a way that is not necessarily exposed to the eye, but what was hidden from the eye is being exposed. And there is a crisis around that. You may have seen certain people as gold diggers when they weren't, or yourself even as gold digger when you weren't necessarily the type. You may have, there are situations where people, through crisis sometimes, connect with their authenticity. And with Pluto and Mars, the moves and the wealth are at odds. So you might be moving towards wealth, but the moves that you make are exposing something that will lead to authenticity. So Pluto is not concerned, Pluto is transformed. But the Mars factor here is quite intrusive and very deep. So you might be acting for or against this authenticity in any way that's going to transform something in your life. So one scent that comes to mind is Palo Santo, which is immediately, and this is indeed a controversial, because Palo Santo is a tree that has to spend an entire lunar cycle on the ground after it died and dried for 3 to 10 years. And it's sacred to indigenous societies. It is very anti-inflammatory, removes toxins, curates the digestive system. And the more it has essential oil, it will be more powerful. There is a power to the healing of the tree, but this power comes from time and from lunation, to absorb the moon before it is ready to use. And so this is associated with a love that is unconditional. It's a sacred tree, but also the use of Palo Santo is very controversial. Okay, there's something almost colonialist about using Palo Santo outside of its indigenous context, and yet the desire here is unconditional love. I'm going to say it again. There's something almost colonialist or even downright colonialist in using Palo Santo outside of indigenous colonies, and yet the desire underneath is unconditional love. So this is the desire underneath, and the curation is coming from containment, moon, and unconditional love, and patience and tolerance, eternal love. It eases on cases of betrayal or cheating. And so this is an oil where supposedly we should respect that it comes from indigenous societies, and yet the drive to colonialize, to take, to use, to burn from the essential oil of Palo Santo is the drive to be in contact and be contained and have eternal love. and be unconditionally loved and loving. So here we have the power, the move, the action that we take to obtain for this versus what we wish to achieve here. And so we have to understand that everybody in this equation essentially tries to touch the eternal love. However ungodly the actions. And then another thing that comes up in the teaching is toxin is what we cannot live in harmony. And so toxin relates to 18th degree, according to Nicholas Stoyanovich. And if you think about Venus in 18th degree, if you think about 18th degree or Mars or 18th degree for your 7th house ruler, that can give a sense of relation that it's challenging to live in harmony with. And so Palo Santo perhaps can assist in finding that harmony in a place where it seems, even toxic. If there are toxins, if there's toxic relations, because basically what they try to do is bring people into toxic relations so that they can get the gold, but underneath essentially the desire is to have that containment, that safety, that which only love can bring, and to touch that through matter. So a lot of what's going on, if you can view it in the eyes of the story I just told about the Palo Santo, that can perhaps assist you to understand what's going on, what are the motives that are operating in this, and become more authentic about your own desire. Why does it work here and not there? With Pluto, there's an authenticity to it. And if you have been thrown into a courtyard or thrown into a field where, or a war, where the forces operating, the voices operating are those of trying to use very toxic manipulation on everyone, then very likely if you're the type that they're using, you've been kind of like the Palo Santo tree that has been thrown into this arena, but it becomes both like a Trojan horse, but a Trojan horse of love, because your heart is authentically desiring purity, and you're thrown into these what seems to be toxic dynamics, or to try to invoke toxic dynamics in you. And as you clear your heart and you clear your energy and you heal your own self, basically that affects, it causes both chaos and new order in everyone around you. Nobody can stay calm. And if you are the type of person who is running into this energy, you may hear a lot of, there may be a lot of attempts and maneuvers to make, whether there's someone approaching you or someone is voicing themselves and you're nudged to look at them. There may be a lot of masquerades to try to make this person look like such and such and such, and that seems to coincide with how you perceive things. But people who are in charge or used to be in charge of the image are very potent in exerting a certain decor that would make you fall into, and they would try to maneuver. So they would try to make this person to show you their purity, because when they want you to believe for this person, but then they would try to show you as maneuver to make you think this person betrayed you, was actually not true. There's some operating forces there where somebody who's actually benevolent is being thrown into situation, and everybody tries, or somebody tries to use them, some forces try to use them to get at everybody, and to do it for the cloud, and then to get you to betray this person. So if you are this person, basically a lot of people try to put you in a lot of toxic dynamics while you are holding a cure. You're holding a cure to this relational pattern, and this might be the most satirical thing, because you might be the type of person never really had a relationship, that never really been associated with anyone, that never really had a good safe connection. You may have taken certain steps in your life, and you may have been pondering, why is this person trying to find my attraction, why this person tried to get with me, and this seems like it doesn't work. And when certain powerful figures arrive, it seems like something there moves, and you want to make sure that this moves in the way that is not just benefic to you but benevolent to you. So you're the type of person who moves benevolently, but you will not stay in a situation that is toxic. This tears up the entire ecosystem, because there is attempt to use you to make, if you are the type of person that is sent into this relationship, then there's attempt to use you to make a lot of moves. It can be a sort of a Cleopatra archetype if you're a woman, or the opposite, okay, male Cleopatra. There are a lot of gay relations, whether in the royalty or, patriarchy or whatnot, politics. So you might be persons genuinely benevolent of heart, but because you're meant to make certain maneuvers, because you're meant to operate on the international, on the hidden, or on the intelligence, or whatever, and to make a revolution there, kind of like a Trojan horse of love, then it won't simply work with the common person, because your relations have to do with more than you. Outer planets to inner planets can give completely sound, where your relations have to do with more than you. And that means that unless somebody seems like a commoner and they're not, you would not initially be attracted into a situation where you're not bringing tremendous wealth and reconnection with whether the divine or something to do with that. Now, because many forces try to operate in a way that would take control of that would make you work the old ways, or make you work in a new way that is still not benefic or benevolent, a lot of the image around you can be of a gold digger, a traitor, inflexible, or on the other hand, how do you say it, harlot, whether you're man or woman. If you are the person that this person is sent to, then you would see something that seems to oscillate between high benevolence to downright trickery. You have to understand that the people that try to maneuver the action take someone's genuinely benevolent and not so aware of image, and there's kind of like a fool card, okay? That person's kind of like the fool in the game. They could be around their Pluto square, okay? They could be around their 40s, because that's the time, or even around their mainly around their 40s, because that's the time where you say life begins at 40. It's the Pluto square, okay? Whether they could be younger or not, it really depends. But that person, albeit their age, can seem very naive. However, this is a type of naive that has the fool card in it. It's not the naive that stays naive, and it's not the naive that you can easily maneuver. And it kind of seems like for some of you don't even try. Or some of you trying to maneuver this person because you see them coming up and you're like, is it a spy? Is it a this? Is it a that? And they're like, no, they seem to be very open, but there are forces that operate that would try to nudge this person, or to make them do moves that would make you perceive of them as either less or more than they are, okay, more manipulative than they are, or less naive than they are. But what seems to be about this person, they can be bringing karma. So the fool card, or the townsfool, is also the one that exposes everybody's karma. Okay, so in that situation, you don't want to be the naked king, but it calls for authenticity from you. And it seems to be that that person is only malevolent if you play with them malevolently. It is very benevolent when you play them benevolently. Okay, but it might not be easy to assess that, to achieve that, to see that. And the forces that operate to maintain this person's image in your eyes are very competent. Okay, they're very competent in knowing exactly, okay, these are the people that know what type of ice cream you like, what type of food you hate, what is your sexual fantasy. Okay, and they're gonna make it seem like it's that person trying to play on these roles, but that person could be completely unaware of their own intuitions. Okay, so they could be playing something that touches on something you're not even aware where it's coming from. And then there are forces around this person that can try to create a certain image. And I'm getting, okay, I'm getting carrot seed as being the next oil for the reading. Carrot seed is releasing past, releasing jealousy, releasing lust, and it's the lust that is like limerence. Also releases repressed feelings like angers, very good for people who have internal conflicts between their heart and their mental, okay, the heart and mind. It is not for pregnancy, which is important. It's not the fertilizer. It's cleansing the liver and the kidneys. Both are going to be very beneficial for this eclipse cycle. Allows you to see what's right for you, what's not right for you. Deep change from the core. It's an oil that connects with a change from the core, and it summons spirituality. And it also anti-aging, it's a rejuvenation, good for the lymph. Okay, a very balanced oil. And there's something about carrot seed. People either hate or love the smell. So this is where you think about relations that have love-hate. Okay, this is the oil that can get you out of this dynamic, whether you are the power, the royalty, or you are that fool card that steps in the court of kings and they're like, hey, it's nice out here. Okay, and for both of you, carrot seed or calling on carrot seeds can be very benefic, because this is where you're not getting into love-hate dynamics. And if it is you, it's also in you. You said love and love. And again, throughout the years, there have been various intense attempts to get you back to love-hate dynamics. And you just disallow that. Okay? But the way that you work about it would be the townsful. You expose the underlying mechanism. Why is there hate? Why is there love? Okay? And that has to do with your shine. Okay? You understand that everybody is entitled to shine like king, and yet nobody is entitled to oppress the way kings do, including the king. We are approaching Pluto in Aquarius. So there is something here that takes you away from any pattern of love-hate relations and keep you centered. But the people that are in love-hate dynamics, they're going to fall like a tower of cards, especially with Pluto finishing up in Aquarius. You think of house, espionage, relations, the Cleopatra archetype, benefic marriages, that arranged marriages are so much to do with that. And you think about the love-hate relations that can entail here when the wealth is based on betrayal. And you think about the forces where you have a force there that is only capable of benevolent love and only capable of committing to something benevolent, only operating with motives that are of benevolence. Okay, there's a lot of authenticity there. And essentially, they represented something in the nature of humanity. This is We desire to be in that place. The level of accessibility can be facilitated here by this carrot seed oil, because there's a person that has taken tremendous steps to leave love hate behind, and this love and love, not loneliness, not lust where you're lonely. There's none of that crap. It's genuine authenticity, and but it is cleansing. Okay, it's not fertilizing in as much as it's coming to cleanse the liver, cleanse the anger, cleanse the commander of the army. Okay, liver is the commander of the army, kidneys is the juristic system. Think about the commander of the army. Okay, and this is about cleansing cleansing the commander of the army, and the kidneys, but if you think about mundane level, is juristic system. So cleansing the commander of the army and cleansing that who is in charge of juristic system, or is expected to be in charge of a kind of international court or royal court, and kidneys cleanse so that the relation is not based on the hermaphrodite patterns, but on genuine benevolence. Okay, there are forces that operate. This is the force that operates here. And that's why this person is so challenging. Because everything about them seems like they're playing a game. And yet the only game they're playing is of benevolent love. They genuinely are the townsfool. They genuinely are the benevolent trickster. They genuinely are, and they don't even claim that they are who they are. So it seems like you don't really get a grasp of this person. Why are they being that way? And they don't respond well to trickery that is not benevolent. Okay, if you try to put them in toxic relations, in MK Ultra control, and all these things, it backfires. But it backfires, okay? It backfires. And then you think this person must hate me. And then they open their heart to you. And they give you sort of like another chance. But you can't mess this up in a sense that won't backfire tremendously. So they don't have disdain for you. They can only feel love. They don't have time to hate you. They don't have time to feel less than. They don't have time for all of the things that you do on the ego, on the self-value, but they don't have time for that. And they would look at the system of the trade. It was like, okay, if I'm to trade my time, I'm to trade my time with people who treat me well. Then you're like, but why do you go into this political, plutocratic thing system? Like, I have been put here. And it seems like there's a lot of attraction, but I have been put here to align the system, to give karma to the balance of the scales as the wealth is shifting. And so you would naturally be put in the correct places, yet the karma that you give is of benevolence. Somebody may be playing you for the clout, but the karma that you bring is for benevolence. And if you are that person, you may have been perceived as the next centurion, the next hidden wealth, okay, the next person in the higher ups, and it can be military system, liver, and economy and juristic system, okay? And that can play a duality here. It can be two. So this is something where there's a tipping of the scale, and it's not just in the image, it's in essence. Okay, but both the connection here is of cleansing. It's not a fertility. You're not necessarily coming to bring a child with you, at least not with this oil in this stage. They come in to clean the system. They clean the liver, detox the liver, detox the army, the commander of the army. Okay, detox the commander of the army, and detox the kidneys, detox the juristic system. And that is thanks to something where they do love and love. They don't do love and hate. They don't do being lonely with someone. They might, even when it comes to sexuality, okay, they're not motivated by lust. They can be very sensual, but they're not motivated by lust or limerence. And if this is you, it could be that you have undergone a certain crisis in your life, someone in the past, that you made certain choices and you're like, why the dumb fuckery around me? Because you trained to bring balance to this system by simply choosing to live well and have healthy relations around you. And yet it seems like you're drawn to forces of power. And it's like, yes, that's what you're meant to do. You're meant to cleanse power. But with benevolence, you bring in the karma, but you create an equity and benevolence in the system. Okay? And for the next oil immediately is China, North America, is wintergreen. Now, wintergreen is interesting. We don't always use it. Not with something that dilutes the blood, not with race syndrome. Could cause explosive, like swelling of the brain and the liver. So you see here, there's some almost contradiction. Uses to alchemize for something like the mind control, the MK Ultra. The somebody is alchemizing. Either you alchemizing that or somebody alchemizing that, and you could be the person within the wealth system that wants to alchemize for the mind control that you are being subjected to. Helps you to connect with your motivation and sense of power. So this is where you want to find your true power. Again, you could be both in your Pluto square. For some of you, even in your Pluto return. Some of you all the way up to your 80s. And for some of you, it's something like the Pluto transition somewhere. Again, we are with the Pluto soul, but this Pluto transition, culmination of this Pluto cycle, you want to discover true power, and you understand it's not in MK Ultra, you understand it's not in intelligence, you understand it's not in the system of control that is bothering you to reconnect with your own natural life energy in whichever way you see it, or divinity in whichever way you see it, from the feet, soles of the feet to fertile soil to the crown. And crown, you can miss both crown chakra and the crown, like literally the crown. So there's a lot of prohibitions, not when you're pregnant. Again, it's something that calls on to the cleansing before it cleanses the way we bring children to the world. Not the fertility that was of trauma and so on, but it cleanses all of this system of fertility. So not with ADHD, not with epilepsy, not with pregnancy or breastfeeding. Okay. So there's a lot of caution around this wintergreen oil. This has to do with China, but it is also North America. And okay, North America, they used to chew the leaves. Again, we come to indigenous societies to improve upon breathing when you are doing something like physical activity. So to deeper the breathing, so you have more athletic power. But here, power must be benevolent. Okay, it's antispasmodic, anti-inflammatory, and it breathes new life to the liver. So it's both the lungs and the liver connected. And this is where we go into the two significations of Jupiter, lungs and liver. It's towards the eclipse cycle where Rahu is going to go into Pisces. Very good for inflammations, for your knuckles, okay, for your muscles, tandems, urinary system, okay, so again, against kidney stones. As we're finishing up with this Libra cycle, Rahu is in 5-degree Libra, so the royal 5-degree Libra, okay, royal justice system to royal military system. But for both, it's good to cleanse, okay, these things, for also for cysts and osteoporosis. You may receive this from ancient, from your lineage. Now, this has to do with your lineage, whether you are this townsfool or this royal figure. And you might be royal army, royal military figure, and royal court figure. What else? Creating movement, good for rheumatism. This is something to warm you up to change, and is basically assisting, again, a lot of detoxification here for your own body, to bring in clarity for your own change. Also something to do with the vision. I'm called to say something to do with the vision. If you've been wearing glasses and thinking for your eye doctor to be the doctor for the vision, this has to be transmuted, okay? You cannot do with the eyeglasses. But this tells me that if you are the townsfool in this situation, the medical issues you are dealing with, because as you are healing yourself, you're basically curating the system. So you might also have some sort of impaired vision. You may have taken your glasses off, but you're looking into that, and the figures that do still use for the glasses, they would need to take their glasses off and to find new ways to recreate their vision. They need to connect with their own inner vision to navigate these times, because if we've been reliant on in general, if we've been reliant on doctors at this time, it's a bit problematic, even if it is the shaman or the healer. And so, because so many things have been infiltrated, a person must take charge and sovereignty of their own health, and they need, with the eclipses, they need to correct their vision, and the key to that might be in the liver and in the kidneys. So, but this is a situation where, because the townsfool is also curating this very problem, you are all transitioning together. One last oil, that would be vetiver, and vetiver is excellent for stability, good for hyperactive people, give you anchor and security. It's a roots based oil. It's roots on the soil, water and soil, water and earth, rejuvenation, good for menstrual system. Again, with this is already building the new fertility. It's an aphrodisiac. It's still detoxifying. Okay. Very good for people who absorb many things from environment, creates good boundaries, good for solar plexus as well. Again, this is for even stretch marks for people that were pregnant, okay? After pregnancy, or stretch mark during pregnancy, anti-aging, good for our facial skin. You have with Rahu in Aries, that's going to Rahu in Pisces. And that would be the calling on the energies, containing changes, flexibility, good for people who are exhausted, good for good night's sleep, good for circulation of the blood. And circulation of the blood, when we have circulation of the blood, when we go out of inbred system. Okay, it connects indirectly to our DNA. It balances estrogen and progesterone. So for people who are in the born hermaphrodite, people who are born in situations where the balance of the hormones, and this pertains to entire society, to our food and so on, that oil brings in. It allows us to accept universal truths and connect with root chakra. Now, very strangely, the wealth families are not so connected with root chakra, because there is an image of wealth. There's actually a nuclear bomb underneath. Okay, we need to clear the waters. So There's been attempt to connect, but we have to have this Palo Santo, okay, for the clarity. Then we have to remove the relational pattern, unconditional love, which was sometimes obtained, the frequency by colonialism, okay? And then we need the carrot seed, which is basically the relational pattern, okay? Just pure to be able to relate benevolently, to acquire the skill, then to curate and to clear the system, okay? To create movement, to warm up the system, to expel the witchcraft that has not been benefic, which is not chasing the witches. This is antidote to what's happening in this time in history, if you pay attention. It's when we have sovereignty, it's not about burning down the witches, which you never know who they are. They will always be the wrong people. But it's about genuinely learning to protect yourself psychically as a sovereign person, whether you are the commoner or the elite. And then the vetiver, which reconnects you to your roots. Okay? And stabilizes conditions which could contribute to actual fertility. So this is what's happening there. There's a Trojan horse of love where people try to use them for power, but everything falls like a tower of cards, flat on, okay, when the people try to use it for power. But you also have these epiphanies, okay? So as a town full curates itself, entire system collapses. And there are various townfuls, okay? There are various courts, there are various militaries, there are various places, and there's something very, very all-encompassing about the process, okay? The townsful is also curating themselves. And as they do, a lot try to interfere in that because they know that they're collapsing their old ways. Essentially, they could be collapsing not to execution, as would happen to them if they persisted in their ways, okay? The ways of power lead to execution, okay? This is the ways of sacrifice leading to be sacrificed. But the ways of curation for your relational style, curation for all these things, and holding that frequency, the power of benevolence, that is something that knocks down entire systems and can bring people into tremendous crisis or karmatic crisis, but can also be not necessarily bad, okay? It can also be the type of, midlife crisis where everything falls apart to fall into place, okay? There are a lot of divorces happening right now in the sky, both divorces of exiling of people, but also divorces of the royalty with Uranus Beta per se. There are a lot of divorces of the royalty, and a lot of people try to shift and grab the power, where you would see it would be that very humble person in the crowd that perhaps grabs all the attention, but is not necessarily seeking to commit, or is not necessarily seeking to hold of this power. Or we could have really, really satirical movie-like situations where somebody could be genuinely in love with you, but when they think about your wealth, they're thinking about, well, after this crisis, we'd be flying in, we'd be probably, I don't know, sailing in a canoe, the most that we'll do. In this situation, what I'm looking for is the person that could be sailing in a canoe with. And if you even have a part of you that's like that, you may genuinely connect. But you could also have these rags to riches stories as well. And there's always something that tries to liberate the monarchy. It's given Princess Diana. Okay, and Princess Diana, she was not free, exempt from anything, but there was something about her that was also genuinely benevolent, and she wanted to liberate the monarchy. Okay, she wanted for the monarchy to be a little less stuck up. And whether you're male or female, there's something Princess Diana like around you, not necessarily about your elegance, but there's something Princess Diana, but you want to liberate the system. You want for monarchy to operate in different ways. And it's timely. It's timely. You have to understand, French Revolution did not eliminate monarchies, it made them more invisible. Okay? Nor did it eliminate church, it just made it more invisible. Okay, the fact that this order of Masons hold power, the Satanic Church with the Vatican are, besties. And so there are forces that operate to liberate, to decentralize, but also to make more global. And it really is, type of courtyard where at the court of the king, there's a little bit of a chaos that's happening, as both manufactured and genuinely timely, okay, with the bisextile of Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and all of kind of forces operate within it, including benevolence. So, if this is you operating within these forces, what you have to remember, whether it's a Pluto transit, whether it's 40, so its life begins at 40, or Pluto transit, you have to remember that, first of all, Pluto is coming in your Capricorn house. So you are within the thrones of clandestine, multiple generational, hidden power. Okay, whichever this takes place, it could be a 7th house, could be a 10th house, could be your 11th house, could be a 3rd house, could be a 1st house. You are punktlich within these thrones of power. You are at the courtyard of, whether it is the plutocrats or the this or the that, is something tremendously big. And this is where you are right now. You've got, how you got there, sometimes maybe you don't even know. And you understand that the what matters in life still matters in life. You are where you dreamed to be. For many of you, you are where you dreamed to be, or where you are where you didn't even know you dreamed to be, if this is like your 12th house. If this is your 11th, you are where your wildest dreams could come true here. And there is a shift in the authenticity. There is a shift through authenticity, some sort of crisis. The Sun square in Pluto from Libra is coming from Spica, and square in Pluto is creating benevolence. And this benevolence is at odds with even the manifestation of your dreams. But this benevolence has a role that you just cannot deny. There's a point of grace to where the Sun is at right now, as it's about to, make its final ingress into Scorpio. So for those around, if you are the townsfolk, for those around you, or not the townsfolk, or those around you, there are tower of cards falling, that some of them calibrate on this in the old way, and everybody's been building up to this moment. Everybody knows there's tower moment, if it's predicted, it's expected, but as with tower moments, nobody can predict which tower, why, and by who, including those who knock this tower down. So not everybody knows who is everybody, which is again predicted. And this is where the many divorces that can take place can be very sudden, and they are because something is balanced on the right way. particularly now. Okay, I'm not talking about next week or this, right now, where the sun is kind of toying around, playing around, being around Spica and moving on. There's an extreme shift of power, extreme last phase of Libra, shift of power, Sun square Pluto, that's happening, and sudden divorces, but also sudden unions that have an international quality or a worldly quality. Okay, it's kind of where is Venus right now? Is in Sag, so free women of the world unite, okay, or something like that. But there's giant shift of power. So that is whoever is operating, the soul here is operating right now from benevolence. Okay, even if it is only in the margins, even if it is only in, and she's in with Ketu, while Mars is still making new moves, and Mars is kind of squaring the sun. So there is the action, and the heart here can play various roles. The action can be very confrontational, but the heart is pure, and the action might not fit the true intentions of the heart. So you have to give it time for things to unravel. And this includes you, okay, whether you are the townsfolk or whether you are the person at play. Your actions may be confrontational, and they may be at odds with the marginalized, and you're operating your motivations, just fated thing shifts in power in the royalties and royal degrees of Rahu and Ketu that govern those fated events. And so you have to take into account that for all of these people, this is unexpected goods and unexpected fated events, and people don't know where the bounty is or what the bounty is. And a lot of dreams suddenly coming true, a lot of towers suddenly falling. So things are not as expected, and a lot of sudden separations, but also sudden unions. Okay. And because such big wealth is involved, it can seem like somebody is a traitor or a gold digger, which at least this week with the sun is not necessarily the case, because Venus is ruling both the sun and both Beta Persei and Uranus, and the desire of the Venusian here is freedom. Whether it's the queen or the townsfolk or the lover, or the desire is freedom. And there is a certain sort of practical or even trade about it, because Jupiter is in Gemini sign. Gemini is again in the ruler of Gemini is again in the sign of Scorpio. It seems like somebody's suddenly making all these what looks like very strategic, sort of big money moves, the politics moves, this, that, real estate moves. But what they genuinely desire is just the free love. Okay, the freedom to love, the freedom to be who they are. And that they're trying to go about this in practical ways. So knowing that about where Venus is right now can assess the sky better. The Venusian in the Venusian is not necessarily women. Can also be the judges. Can also be actors or certain leaders, even queens or princess or banking authorities or stuff like that with better percent, trying to cover for everything, royal family. There's a genuine desire for just more freedom, but the way to the actions they steer up, it looks like somebody is making this big manipulative power moves, because people are making power moves and they are cunning, but the underlying desire here is benevolence and freedom. It is to be taken note that the actions don't always go in par with the innate desire. So that has to be given time to unfold, and there are also fated events. I hope this was helpful to you. Relational patterns changing, For many of you, you don't do the pattern of toxic relating, and you're just bored of it. For some of you, and some of you just want to excrete the toxins, um, and there's a detoxification process that's happening genuinely, and you don't just want to put in new toxins. Okay, you really want something different. You really want to change, and that is genuinely, regardless of the position where you're at. Your actions might not fit, okay, at this point, and that might change when Mars releasing from the opposition, and in a year perhaps coming to trine Pluto. So give it a lot of time. Don't assume for someone's motivations at this point. Play to the center of your own field, that is centering yourself, making sure your motivations are clear to you, and making sure the essence of desire, what's underneath your desires, how it has to do with your upbringing, paternal figures, but also maternal figures. How does that play out? It's time for coping mechanisms to shift for all of us. We're losing our coping mechanisms. Okay, it can be as simple as, think about it. I used to buy coffee or buy me a coffee or sit somewhere, and during COVID I couldn't do that. Everybody wanted you to have a vaccine, and I didn't want to cooperate with that system, and I was also too exhausted from everything, so I had to change my coping mechanisms. Could no longer rely on that coffee in a restaurant. Okay, now we're having similar time. The coping mechanisms we used to have to balance ourselves is we have to let go of it collectively. There are new ways to tend to take charge of our lives. Okay, Mars ruling Rahu. And this could be regardless of who you are. Okay, if you're the type that relied on a certain schedule, a certain routine, now routine is changing inevitably. If you're the type of person that had relied on certain people or partner, okay, now that is changing inevitably, either because the partner needs to tend to themselves right now, or whatnot. If you're the type of person that had certain addictions, it could be very benefic because you're losing that addiction. If there was a figure or, in your life, like a teacher or guru where you relied on everything, now there seems a collision, and you have to also kind of sift and sort your advisors and take your own advice. Okay, if Rao in Aries is about taking our own advice, taking the source of actions our own. If there's your housing, that could be that is shifting. Okay, something you could rely on in the housing is changing, is shifting, is transforming, and you won't be able to rely on it in that particular way. But something new is coming. Some new form of self-reliance is coming to the forefront, and this new form of self-reliance can have to do with your nourishment, with your habits, with your self-care, and you're definitely going to have to self-care. Okay, you're definitely going to have to, for time being, and that depends on how much of a crisis point is that to you. But also a lot of ample of opportunities is something where you're excited to go somewhere. If you think about it, if you've been tied to certain contracts, Libra, that have not been allowing you to explore, whether it's exploring the world or exploring different roles in life or exploring this type of job opportunity. Now, those contracts which may have served as security, they are being purged. And so you're allowed to explore more. But you're allowed to explore, but there's also fated exploration. This has to do with something, the royalty at this time. It could be so much as a grant from the royal whatnot family of so and so to go and do a degree. but it's fated for you to take this opportunity, even though it collides with so and so and so and so and so. You want to check where your Aries house is, because that pertains of where the new opportunity is coming, and where to is where Mars is, and this is your Cancer house. So where is this new opportunity coming? And it has to do with royalty. Okay, whether you like it or not, this is why so many people operate to make the royal system so more free, and change things of how they operate, because you're gonna be rubbing elbows with that which is royal. Right now is fated for you. Okay. And the moves that Mars make with Pluto, the entire moves that Mars makes with Pluto, at this moment they're operating, the opportunities, they come from this. You can skip them, but you will be thrown into another pile of gold that may have an A-bomb in it, in another way or phase or direction. Okay. If I take a look at a concrete example, when Saturn was in my 12th house, I traveled to Netherlands because I was homeless. And at that time, I kind of tried to channel, and I channeled someone who's very higher up in the system, very well known. And that would inspire like a tower of cards, but also like a domino effect, a lot of insights, informations that would come to me that would be relevant to what's going on in my life right now. And shifted the position of power completely. Okay, the charts that I would do, nobody else would dare to touch even, since none of my colleagues are even close to that. Okay, the insights I would get and so on. And that completely shifted. It completely came by me being homeless and trying my luck to stay alive another day. So you want to understand that if right now the opportunities are coming to you and you say, I'll skip that, I don't want to mess with so and so, I don't want to mess with this and this, then you can only skip it so much before a crisis comes into your life and you end up at the pile of gold. It might look like crisis, but you end up at the pile of gold. Now you have to work with that gold, with everything, the karma, the trauma, the this, the that. Okay, another concrete example, when I was reading Feynman a lot, and it gave me a lot of channelings and this and that, and a lot of relying on this very spiritual teacher who was deceased, and saving my life even in academia. Later, I would be kind of karmically on the road to expose of whatever Feynman was involved in, like the A-bomb and the fluoride and the teeth. So to continuation of the curation of the Feynman lineage family trauma, because I've been benefited by the Feynmans. Okay, I've been spiritually benefited, and the curation of the karma has to come. So it's not about defending, but it's rather about awakening people to, there is a cure for cancer. Feynman died of cancer. To the medical warfare, to the fluoride and defluoridization, where it's around building an A-bomb. Okay, this is information I got from Feynman. And so those were the things that I would be talking about. And this is a part of the road of karma. Okay, you're benefiting from that person, and whether they're alive or dead, and you're playing a part in the curation of the karma. And it's maybe that you karmically will brought together, even in those situations, to play a part in the curation of the karma. But try to have a situation where the clarity of the family, of my own family karma, is curated, is definitely has to do with lineage that I would not say here, this Dutch lineage. And from this Dutch lineage, I received curation for my karma, so much so that I've managed to reach to the pre-verbal state. And so, and re-examine or relieve certain things in my good things in my childhood that were hidden wealth that I wasn't exposed to, was basically from the lineage of my father. Okay, and I talk about that as well. So the karma plays a role here, and there's a potency for great benevolence. It's a karma of benevolence, okay, that's playing out here. The Tower of Cards are falling on all the coping mechanisms that are not fit for this karma. Okay, if you think you need to steal or you need to lie, you might discover new ways where you don't have to do that. But it can be a crisis around, okay, for your previous ways. It's benevolent karma in essence. So that thing that you fear the most that would be exposed about your family is exposed, and you're seen benevolently. Okay, there's a gift of grace about this, and it may look like betrayal, but is actually coming to clear the slate of the karma, so to clear intergenerational curses that were on your lineage, maybe from Masons, maybe from hermaphrodite cults, maybe from royal lineage, from all the way up to the Vatican, okay? And the exposure here is actually clearing the karma so that you're in a clean slate. You're opening up this cycle in a clean slate. And it's true for everyone, okay? And then the process of this exposure may be very powerful and may be very transformative. Also true, if you are a transforming figure in someone's life, it's very likely they will be transforming in your life as well. Okay? And this is paying the karma, but it can look like betrayal because it seems like they're betraying you, or betraying hidden information, betraying this or betraying that, but actually clearing up your slate. That's what I'm saying, okay? If the information is indeed correct, and if it's not, they will get to the correct information. And sometimes it can be who you thought is your grandest enemy becomes actually the person who cleans your slate, so you wouldn't have to go through the karma of whether it's execution or torture or all these things that are in this so-called in the spirit, on the plate in the spirit of the times. Around that, a lot of royal divorces, royal execrations, royal of karmas that are playing out, royal exposures of the royalty, exposures of people that you didn't know are royalty, or maybe people that are seen as royalty, you didn't know about this. All these things are coming to play the field. And if you think like I'm a common person, there's nothing between me and royalty, well, that has to do with your patrilineage, with your ancestors, with the way the royal games have been affecting all of us, whether it's our food, the food industry, the habits, our ability to have intimacy, the contracts that bind people together or apart, the boundaries set, okay, the economy. This is something that's genuinely affecting all of us. And there are tremendous revelations that happen, shifts of power that happen in this time. It, of course, affects the common people because Mars is in the sign of the people. Okay? So this is also shifts of power between social classes. UK taking a look at its social class system. India taking a look at its caste system. We've seen that happening, okay? The caste system in India being publicly criticized. So whichever place you stand on that criticism, the entire system of classes and bloodlines is being, information is exposed that shows that we've not been that purebred anyway. And for good, because it's not healthy for us to be that inbred and so on. Yes. So wherever you stand in this reading, very likely something of it applies to you, if or not. Okay, very likely not nothing. Okay. And again, for those people that still try to make the how should I say it, the doubt in someone's value moves, that is backfiring like a tower of cards. Okay? But it's not working on a Machiavellian way here. Not with the sound around Spica, not with Uranus Beta per se. Uranus Beta per se is not at all Machiavellian. I know that was the time of the Second World War and Hitler and Mussolini and Stalin. What was the karma for all of them? Okay, even if they were becoming hidden, and they were preserved or cloned or something like that, they would definitely not be in the solar figure that they were set out to be. And each and every one of them, Hitler was artist, Stalin, I don't remember, okay, for Mussolini, they were all performers. So they were all the visibility. So even if they are alive, with the invisibility is actually not benefic to them, because they were a line of people that wanted the visibility. Because even if they are still alive or being kept or cloned, this is not something that's benevolent towards them. Okay, because they wanted to be seen. And so, but that is not accusatory. It simply means that there's some opportunities here that arrive to clean the slate that are a plain part of the world events right now. The unexpected goods. Okay, there's a lot of unexpected goods, and with Venus in the sign of the great benefics and Jupiter in the sign of Mercury in detriment, there's unexpected goods, but the phrasing, the tactics, the playing the field is kind of weird. Okay, that's what's happening. So what my advice to you in this sense is, give it time, allow things to unfold. Mars is in general trine in Neptune. It's not square in Neptune. It's not conjunct in Neptune, okay? You're not imagining. There's some unexpected goods. There's some genuine benevolence going on here. You also, even if you are the town's fool, if you have hidden motivations or stuff like that, in the sense of your passions, okay? What's your passions? You're being not confronted, but it's more like exposed. You're not able to, this is the thing, you're not able to hide yourself too much, not even from yourself, and that can be intense, but it's all in all benevolent. And then that can play out on both you or other people seeing you as, whether it's the gold digger, whether it's the this, it's like, hey, this person acts like the gold digger, but why are they talking about a new type of wealth that's not associated with satanic abuse? Okay, there's something I'm kind of getting, if I want a concrete example for the money moves that are happening right now, then Ronald Bernard would be the greatest example I know, because you see when this person talks about money, his eyes lit, but he's talking about money independent of satanic ritual abuse, and his eyes lit even further. So that is kind of like, hey, this looks like this person is the gold digger, but it's like, no, they're actually benevolent. They like money, they like wealth, they like the big stuff, but they like it from a sense of an entrepreneurship, and they suffered satanic ritual abuse themselves, and they want to break out of this system, and you need currency. Okay, so this is where this is kind of like a concrete example. We would have a person that's been thrown into being a little bit of a Trojan horse of love in a situation where it's like they make big money moves, they make big this, they make big that. Now, because the actions are still needing refinement, so there's a question of how to go about that new form of wealth, and there's also transforming and learning. But that's one good concrete example I can say for the spirit of the time, where the power is shifting, and some people can look like they're the biggest gold diggers and this and that. They change the currency, they do the biggest power moves that possibly could be, where they're actually like, well, if I want to find my benevolence, I want children to be housed, I want whistleblowers to be able to speak, I want this, I want that, then it needs a currency, okay? And so the genuine benevolence together with the genuine, almost Luciferian love of money comes into a place where it's like, hey, what if money was not Luciferian? What if the currency we traded was, okay, different currency? And then you have to see for the actions, okay, what is, and then both the player is transformed and the people around them are transformed. But many people will try to definitely situate or say, hey, they got they still got the symbolism of the cult, whether it's the world thing or the tema mundi, or hey, they still in contact with the darkness. All these things that can come up where people may try to phrase, hey, this person's only coming to rob people, hey, this to keep the people from seeing what looks like the full card, okay, the person that begins the journey but out of or comes to liberate the system from certain practices, okay, like satanic ritual abuse of children, and to liberate the economy from that. And their eyes shining as a child, and it looked like, hey, they look exactly like the caricature of, the bloodthirsty, not bloodthirsty, but the gold thirsty Jew, okay, or something like that. And that might not be the case, okay? So they're going to look like the caricature of the greedy banker, where in fact there's something else very likely more benevolent going on here. It's just that the actions need to transform or refine or be moved towards or steer towards a certain direction. And so that you want to pay attention to these figures, and you want to understand that even the people that they sent at this time to play on the two, okay, to play on the one foot here, one foot there, they could be doing something that looks like betrayal, but it's actually benevolence, which is to liberate us from this type of betrayal-based or traitor-based economy. Okay, so that's also something I'm sensing strongly. The genuine collapse of the system includes inside the chaos both forces that are like, oh, let's do a power move here, power move there, and it's going to be challenging to distinguish them from, or challenging to distinguish who is who and what is the power, where's the power shifting. But the power is definitely shifting. If you are the person that's receiving like inner intuitions on where are the shifts of power, is very likely because you're expected to do something with that, and very likely that people that want you to do a lot of things with that, because you're kind of like the new player in the field. And again, you could be in your 40s, you could be in your 50s, you could even be well into your 60s. Again, we're talking Centaurians here. So well into your 60s, you can be considered a new player in the field that can still be maneuvered, that can still be this, and cling to that naivete of the fool, where the naivete makes everyone fall like a tower of cards when they're not naive. That's what kept your innocence thus far. And that's going to very likely play a giant role in your future success. And that's what draws people in. Okay, that's what draws people in. And that could be various figures. You have to understand within the system there are people who want benevolence, who want to change, to have more liberations. And for some people, they have a current crisis where they begin to understand, hey, the ways of the old are not really working for me. And those are exactly the people whose image they will try to control. Okay, those are the people that you would see. Think about the controlling of the image. Okay, whether it's the satanic red or the horns or the this or the that or the star or whatnot or the world even. By the way, inside tip on the Tema Mundi, there is a Tema Mundi version done by Inside of the Cult by woman. Okay, so there is a Tema Mundi version done by someone who is not supportive of eradicating femininity. There is a Tema Mundi version done by person that could antidote the other Tema Mundi versions. Okay, so there's a lot going on, even within the Masons, the astrological community, the astromagical community, the occultistic community, the manifestation community. There are people genuinely sharing benevolent information with other. The genuine benevolence plays here a huge role, a huge key to situation, and people really try to tell the tale of things. Now you have to be authentic. If somebody says something or exposes something about your lineage and it's true, okay, then they might be clearing the slate. If they do this you have to see the grace behind this. If they come with grace, you have to hold that respect for them, because the benevolence here is evident. Okay, if they come with grace, if they just connect you to your authenticity, then they come with grace. But even if they don't, you will likely benefit from that. Okay, even if they don't, you will likely benefit from that, because when you cling to your authenticity, then you agree to transform. This is where things begin to unfold and evolve for you. And it's the fact you hold a relational pattern that will no longer take toxicity, being lonely in a relationship, all these things. Okay, you want the healthy version of everything, where it's monogamy, not monogamy, being single parent, being child free, having 7 children. Okay, but whatever it is that you want the healthy version of it, and you're not compromising on that. And there's something that's just happening right now in the world. We're purging that toxic way of relating. But you're also authentic. Okay, if you're not supposed to be with the common person, then you're being authentic to that, and you understand that there is a role that you're playing in the transformation of the system. That's very likely why you're there. Okay, whether it's the Cleopatra type or the Princess Diana type. I don't know what would be the male equivalent. I'm not the type of person that learned about royal families ever. The only thing I know would be the Falstaff of Shakespeare. And then my Navamsha is ascendant Leo with sun in the 4th house in Scorpio, tropical Scorpio. Okay, ascendant tropical Leo. Should be ascendant Cancer with sun fallen in Libra in the 4th house. So sidereally. But what sidereally is falling is the tropically Scorpionic. So that's kind of like, leaders are people, people are leaders. I've been saying that a lot, but it's like I've been the most common of commoners. The only thing that I had ever status in is about, me liking Feynman and philosophy and astrology and stuff. And then boom, comes my Navamsha. Everyone around me is monarch, whether a mono project or I don't know. And that is a fascinating transition. The definitely it's kind of like you're equipped to it, but you don't yet know you're equipped to it. And so it's also the role of authenticity. Okay, for the others, it can be the other type of authenticity. If you're not the type that meant to this courtyard, you're kind of like, I want to live in a cabin in the woods. then that might be you, okay? Or there'll be combination of these things. But definitely, you're fated for some of your wildest dreams to come true. If you're watching this for sure is true to you. Your fate is the fate. Your fate is some of your wildest dreams coming true. And for some of you, it's dreams you didn't even know you have. It's like, what am I doing here? Hey, this is a nice place, actually. Okay. So what's more to say about this energy? Reconnecting to passion from the heart. Okay, passion is passion, but passion is reconnecting to passion from the heart is something that is both health and wealth. Okay, and wealth is not just piles of gold, but wealth is whatever it means to you. Okay, well-being, freedom, the ability to walk in and out whenever you want to, the ability to not have to do things on anybody's schedule, or the ability to maintain your own routine. Here with different notions of wealth, with the Neptune Saturn in Aries is definitely going to remind us of, because we'll be longing for that. So you think about, what do you miss in COVID? How much do I actually miss sitting on a cup of coffee in a restaurant, fairly lonely and quite agitated, versus being well slept, well rested? Okay. Okay. Or reading a book of someone that actually got to channel the family and just, the emotional experience of taking it step by step, of even the process. Okay. That may be what has been for me. How much have I actually been, satisfied with being always on time everywhere I need to be, even if that entails that I have to change my whole schedule for it. And how it's so much more lovely when that is only when I don't know, have to do my teeth or something, and then I have an entire joy day somewhere, and then there are synchronicity of, hey, that's the dream you need to tend to, or hey, that's, or the sushi is exactly right, or and that's kind of like, oh, this is a fun day where I will be on time because I'm in a nice surroundings, waiting for that, okay, for that meeting. um, so it can be those cases. Okay, if you think about, your COVID coping mechanisms, or how much joy did I really make making not enough money for my astrological readings, versus, hey, let's take a look at NATO's chart. Oh, there is NATO's chart. Oh, somebody's sitting on a pile of gold with an A bomb. That's cute. Okay, that's stuff I haven't done before, and I might even get paid by, I don't know, Beats of Joy or something, for just doing what I'm passionate doing, and talking about new opportunities, and the clarity of why things weren't working before. So for you, that may have been, other things, whether it's the way you've been doing relationships, whether it's the way you've been managing your day, whether it's the content you have been making, decisions. Okay, but how your decision making process. Okay, what was your decision making process? All of these things shifting, and all of these things comprising a sort of reality where the wealth is elsewhere. Okay, the wealth is where it's never been before, and you combine things in ways that you weren't used to. Okay, but it's also being authentic. So it's not about disdain for gold or disdain for riches or disdain for vacation or something like that. It's more about what is my actual source of happiness and wealth, um, and enjoying and authentically enjoying that. If I think about the entire movement towards financial freedom and manifestation, and how people have been learning to love money, and how we are purging of the old financial system where there are some forces just want us to have this digital currency where we sacrifice children to the snake goddess underneath the ground in Brussels, but also in Israel, maybe even underneath my city as well, very likely even. Um, so Negev region, entire Negev region, just entire, so bingo, expandable children caves, entire Negev region in Israel, all the way up to Dimona and the Korea, central Israel, of course, Jerusalem, Tzfat, okay, especially for the center of emergency stuff for children. Happy. So yeah, there's a world going on the ground. But where were we? I got my own train of thought. Yeah, so there's this entire, global currency. It's kind of like the global devil currency. And even from within the system, people are like, hey, we want a refreshing change. We want something that actually speaks to our hearts. And there's such a movement of so many people who learn to love money where this currency is no longer fitting. Because if I turned my frequency around money, and I decided that I love money, money can be very benevolent. Money can change the world. Money can house people. Money can do models of pricing that I wasn't able to do before. Receiving money can give me time to relax. So all these abundance things, and I was taught that so and so and so, but I can actually live better than my family used to live, and even support of my family, and so on. And well, shifted the vibration around money. What has to change? The money. Hey, my frequency around abundance, if it doesn't fit the currency will change. And just today I found out another golden opportunity. Mama versus Mafia, Trudy Verstegen, has a bank account in Netherlands. Whichever this bank is in Netherlands, I set my eye on this bank because I want to open an account there. If they vouch, it's not vouch, they open an account for Mama versus Mafia to receive money. With she being blocked from everywhere, I want to have account there. So now that I want to have account, now I want my money move, and I'm waiting for the beats of joy. It's like, hey, maybe now try to do reading. Maybe now try to have product that I want to exchange money. Okay, maybe now try to do something with my life where, hey, that money could be dividends to that project, or but that's a new opportunity to manage my money that I didn't see before. Hey, wherever that bank with that person that does these things to abolish satanic ritual abuse is doing, and that bank holds the money, okay, allows them to have money and to have a bank account, that bank account is interesting to me. And I'm going to make it very communicative that I'm interested to get to know this bank more. Maybe there's something of value they can give to this bank. I've worked in the banking industry, okay, I've worked in the credit industry in my life. I've seen what they do wrong. Okay, this is just all kind of like tower of opportunities that open up simply because, okay, with people, even if it's you've changed your frequency around money and around wealth. It's like, hey, money can be good, money can be this. Now money has to change. You change the way you see. You notice when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. The way we looked at hermaphrodites, okay, elite, reptilian, inbred this, Aries, Ubermensch. What Aries represents, those are farther from the plate, those that have been the most not excluded. How these people breathed, with torture and suffering all their life. Wouldn't we want them to have access to exit violence and curate for the solar and lunar wounds? And it's not about reintegrating into society. The entire society has to change. And for the people who make decisions in the world of wealth to be loving to themselves because they grew with love, and then they make loving decisions. Well, wouldn't that be a nice idea? Okay, so if it's just one person that sees things in that direction, opens opportunities for tremendous changes to occur. Whereas if you're stuck with reptilian, first of all, you're more susceptible to be fooled, because these people are also, whether it's programmed or indoctrinated or whatnot, or MK Ultra, have personalities that really are empathetic. Okay, so you're the first to be fooled. Okay, you're the first to be fooled if you hold in this, hey, this is a reptilian psychopath, you're the first to be surprised with how empathetic, genuinely, and can show genuine benevolence toward you people are. But if you're aware of these things and you don't hold it for against somebody, but you say, let's hold the place of change, now you're a point of attraction to something tremendous to open up and to manifest in the world. Okay, so it's just as I said about money, I said about systems, I said about structures. For example, I had constantly had this anything pyramidal. Yes, this is not entirely bad, but mostly bad. Okay, we must decentralize, we must this, we must that. And then I ran into Rabobank is a cooperative. The kibbutz, which is the greatest cooperative type of settlement, was a factory for MK Ultra children, expandable children, sexpionage, child assassins, and so on. And so I had to shift my perspective. Okay? If I go to the upbringing, and perhaps for the design, and I always like the design to combine with nature, but also with sovereignty and individuality, and the place for there is community and people are included. Okay, so I had to shift from my perspective, because I kept saying, well, decentralized structure. The Rabobank is a cooperative. The largest places where they breed the children to basically be child assassin espionage, they are cooperative. Okay, that is centralized systems. And so I had to agree to shift my perspective, otherwise I would remain stuck. But cooperative doesn't have to be bad. There are all types of creators. What do you put in there, what the content is also the matter. And this is have a lot to do with the agency, has a lot to do with, and the currency has a lot to do with upbringing and the fertility process. So this is where changing for the fertility to be a pleasurable experience for all concerned, and for the upbringing to be a pleasurable experience for all concerned, has tremendous opportunities. It's very likely that people who grew up like this would think the same. So and that opens up, okay, the gates of changes and types of wealth and type of recognition and type of joy of living that you didn't know before. Another thing, if you're the type, I will say it, okay, another place where I have grown, okay, I've went from idealizing the Enlightenment to being exposed to the atrocities that of the Rosicrucians, and thus the Masons, the Illuminati, to understanding that, hey, the Inuit and the indigenous tribes, they basically did the costumes that the Rosicrucians that learned from them and perfected, okay? So, but the problem is not this monarchy or that prosecutions or this type of structure or this type of this, is the fact that's like, hey, if we do satanic ritual abuse, we sacrifice children, if we torture children, we do this type of upbringing, if we do this type of thing to people, and then these people take our decisions, they hold within them inherent sadistic tendencies that is more challenging to curate than if we say, oh, let's abolish from the indigenous tribes or whichever we are of human sacrifice, of torture rituals, of rape, of electrocution. Okay, let's get rid of that rather than get rid of the Masons or get rid of the monarchy or get rid of this tribe or get rid of this nationality. Okay, let's hold it just the way we do in relationships. Okay, you hold the behavior, not the person. And that's a shift in transformation that I had from idealizing to almost devaluing, and then becoming more stable assessment that can hold a safe and loving relation. So those are the things that are kind of not required, but kind of like it's fated for many of us, many of you watching this, to go through, and many of you have gone through that, and now the fruits are manifesting. There's a yield for these transitions, and if there is hidden information, new information, you'll be exposed to this like new wealth that shifts your perspective on things. Jupiter is applying to square Neptune, and that can be a challenge for perspective. Okay, and this is important to note. Okay, we might grow after the square with Saturn. We are growing more optimistic, and then we're going to have a shift of where have we been both devaluing and idealizing. So Jupiter would slowly be moving towards the trine next year, and will give us a bigger appraisal of our dreams. Okay, so we're going to refine our dreams, but now we are releasing some expectations and kind of allowing certain dreams to manifest big, and then there can be crisis of this manifested, that didn't, the roundabout way that things can go, where towards next year we're going to see a more expansive type of spirituality and optimism that is also realistic. So we have been both unrealistic in our fears. Okay, so unrealistic fears, but to some degree also hopes. And in a way, you have to, it's a lesson of innovation. You think about anybody that builds something new. Okay, before I built my garden, that now I'm having a framework for something that may grow without my interference. Still in that garden, yes, still in that garden, whether it's be here or I don't know where would the crisis lead or wherever it takes me. But before that, it began with losing plants. Nothing grows, hardly anything grows. I tried to grow sweet potato, and I was told it's the easiest to grow, and it wouldn't grow. Then I changed for how it's supposed to be, it still wouldn't grow. Okay, and then I noticed that the survivor is rosemary, and that rosemary has been accompanying me for a while, and the hibiscus suddenly grows, and the garlic grows with me. Whenever did 4 garlic heads that I grew, they were the crisis that I had with my housing. Okay, that's transformational. Okay, love them garlics. Okay, and then things try to interfere. I move my cucumber plant downstairs, and I lose the cucumber plant, and I grieve. I did not identify the tomatoes, and I thought they are just grass, and I grieve. And then there is 7th of October, villages are slaughtered. I come back after 1 or 2 weeks not being in the house, and the tomatoes are growing. While the roses that I left to dry were dead. Okay. And so, and then the landlord decides to do grass and rips off the rosemary bush basically from the ground, which felt like, I think I applied for assisted suicide that day. Okay. Like, that was how powerful that was. But then the garden is growing certain infrastructure that's still holding me. And I speak with the neighbor that wants to buy the land, and we talk about shamanistic things, and I try to mediate to an Orthodox Jew for what the costumes of some of the settlers that were here, that he tells me were Palestinians, and I tell him, well, also Jews lived here before. And talk about satanic ritual abuse and how this creates drought, and so on. So, and so you see that those beginnings, or those things that we do, the drive to go to continue to do it is something that's almost obsessive, and these things, they form and they grow. Okay. And they grow so much so that the change is more powerful than we can imagine. And as they grow, we grow. So, if I'm beginning this example about, agriculture, or about growing your dreams, or some of your dreams are fated to concur, it might not look like that in the beginning. It might look like nothing grows with you, but then you learned it from a deeper point of view, especially if you have retrograde planets governing that growth. Okay, retrograde planets tend to go about this pattern. Moon in nakshatra Uttara Palaguni, I think, or Purva Palaguni, or something like that, around Sirius. Okay, Moon Sirius, nakshatra or lunar, they tend to do that as well. You need to try a couple of times before something actually grows. But then when it grows, it impresses everyone, including you. You will have the heads up for things that other people don't. So that's something. It's a giant. This is something about this form of success, where it sometimes can feel like you're losing everything, or afraid to lose everything. But in those times, you see there's something that actually grows here deeper than you thought, or deeper than you could imagine. Yeah. Give it time to grow. And again, whoever you are on this arena, give it time to grow. And and the lunar phases, okay, the eclipses are going to granted to shift our perspectives on a worldview. So yes, I'll see you in another video, and thank you for watching.